Matt Lenihan for boxing, social in association with freebets.com, Empire Fight Store, and Forged Irish Stout. We're here, Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, always a pleasure to catch up with you. I didn't manage to actually catch up with you directly after the fight. It was a bit of a circus after trying to bounce around everyone, but it's good to have you on. How are we, mate?
I'm very well. Well, I hot-footed it to the airport, believe it or not, because I had a 6:30 a.m. flight. And even on the, I know, and even on the night, and some friends in Riyadh got me to the airport, but um, I just hit floods in Dubai then when I landed there and I had an overnight there in the end, 20 hours delayed, because I'm honestly incredible flooding in Dubai.
No.
Um, yeah, but it was no, so I wasn't even there to speak at the end, but I've caught up on everything everyone was saying. What a dramatic night it was. What a great week, to be honest, overall.
Yeah, 100%. A terrific week and an emphatic ending to what was, it felt like an in-depth and a long card, but Anthony Joshua went out there and put on a statement victory and managed to get a highlight reel knockout, a show reel knockout, which went viral, trending everywhere. And the result, maybe not the surprising thing. Were you at all surprised in how it ended in that
Um,
fashion?
well, on what was a 10-hour card, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, which it was a long night, but it didn't feel
No, no, it was good.
unbelievable. It was amazing to see it all, frankly. Was I surprised? Well, I'd seen the fight going one of four ways, and I saw Joshua either winning early and dominating, stopping Ngannou late, winning on points, or Ngannou catching him with something. And I think those. I mean, how many more outcomes are there? I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't envisage Ngannou winning on points. I think that's the one thing, but who knows in boxing, God. But clearly, Joshua had been, I think they'd worked on, this is what I think happened. Ngannou foolishly switched to Southpaw very early for no reason whatsoever when he
Yeah.
was going very well orthodox to orthodox, and they were just having that phony war, feeling each other out. Because there were a couple of moments of nervousness for Joshua in the very early bits, and you thought, "Oh, don't get caught by this guy now." The left hook was coming from Francis; he was trying to land it, and I think Ben Davison and Lee Wiley had worked on that with Joshua. If he switches southpaw, look for that right down the pipe. Just look for it. And obviously, that changed the course of the fight. But Joshua didn't get greedy, maintained his patience. Yeah, it was a brilliant finish. Joshua knows what he is again. And George Foreman said this to me a while ago when we were talking about Anthony Joshua. There's no book on being heavyweight champion in the world. There's no university degree in it. You learn on the job, and you need to learn to know what you are. And Joshua knows what he is again, which is a big, destructive, dangerous finisher,
Yeah.
not a guy that wants to box from long range behind the jab. This is why it's going to be fascinating when he fights Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk again, if he does, because he's got to deal with boxers again. But he's got his power back, and he's got his body is now doing, his brain and his body and his belief system is back to doing what his body should do. A
Yeah.
big, destructive, dangerous heavyweight.
I was going to come on to that. So it looks now, when you look at the last performance and this one, it's more of a, let's say, well-rounded, but he seems to have like found himself again. Do you put that down, that work, that credit down to the work of Ben Davison and Lee Wiley and all of them coming together and saying, look, this is what you should be doing. Let's just get back to doing that, but making sure that you're doing it in a more calculated fashion. Everyone talked about Joshua from his early days blasting through fighters, which, the first few you sort of think you should be doing kind of thing. You expect that's expected of you, but now he's back to doing it and doing it with confidence. Has maybe the losses he's taken, do you think he's fighting almost with, seems like not a lot of pressure anymore? Like he's fighting more free.
Oh, I think he's still got a lot of pressure on him. But I think I had a couple of really good interviews with Ben Davison and quite deep interviews about the coachability and versatility is what he told me about Anthony Joshua. That's what he's very impressed with, and his professionalism. And I think Ben simplified what he needs to do. I think they've got the game plan right every time. So we've just seen 7 rounds of destruction against 2 opponents in which there was jeopardy there for Anthony Joshua, but he's jettisoned the jeopardy. He's pushed it to one side, and he's been able to produce performances where he's hitting and not being hit. And I think as a result, the mystique of Joshua as that power puncher, that destroyer, that finisher is back. And that aura of his size and his presence. And he had that all week, by the way, I felt. And he was very composed when Ngannou and Tyson Fury were having it out at the press conference day. He was the last to speak, and I thought he was very poised and performed brilliantly in saying, I'm looking forward to fighting Francis. I've fought Joseph Parker. I've fought Zhilei Zhang, who we fought in the amateurs. I will fight Tyson. This is a great time for the heavyweight division. It was the speech of a champion.
Yeah.
It was very rounded, and I loved the balance of him in that way. And just before that, I'd been in his dressing room with him, or his waiting room with a couple of others, interviewing 4 or 5 others, and he was very relaxed, very charming. I just thought he carried himself. He's carrying himself really well, and I do, knowing Ben well, I've always, as soon as they announced their allegiance, their alliance, I thought it would really, really work for them both.
Yeah. Speaking on their relationship, I know that we don't want to look too far ahead because everyone's guilty of doing it in boxing, but the fight everyone wants to see is Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, regardless really of what happens. Everyone's talking about this for so long. It was close to getting made all them years ago. I know Ben hasn't done sort of many interviews in the week, maybe talking about it, and because it puts him in a bloody awkward position. But this is a guy who was with Tyson on coming back from the hell and back he went through, leaving the sport, trained him for a Deontay Wilder, where many people say he should have got the victory that night. He then went and obviously had another couple of fights with him, and then obviously Tyson's moved on to Sugar Hill. But how awkward is this now with them two do fight, to have Ben Davison in the corner of an Anthony Joshua, with how close that relationship's been? Or do you not think?
Well, he hasn't made that decision yet, and he doesn't like to answer that question yet. And as I said, I did a big exclusive interview with him that went out on the Wednesday in the Telegraph. And Ben's said to me, and and I know Ben well. I was there at the genesis, if you like, of his relationship with Tyson Fury out in Marbella and Billy Joe Saunders, and met them together when they just met and went out to see Tyson for 3 days. I think it's 2016 now, that was.
Yeah.
March 2016 when I went out to see them in Marbella. So that was the genesis of their relationship. And obviously Ben did extraordinary things, lived with Tyson Fury for 11 months, helped him lose 10 stone, brought him back mentally and physically back to have that extraordinary fight with Deontay Wilder and a couple of others, of course, before that. But what Ben has said to me is, ask me the question about Tyson and Anthony Joshua and whether I'd train Anthony Joshua for that fight once Tyson and Usyk have fought first. Because, like you say, they've got a friendship, he and Tyson, but it's only sport. This is sport. I know there's legacy involved in all those things and all those kind of things, but at the end of the day, it's a sporting situation, and we don't know what his decision's going to be yet. Yeah. So, like you say, he may choose not to. He may decide it's too difficult a thing. But I do think he's very, very good for Anthony Joshua, and I think having him in the corner is going to make, and in the camp is going to make an extreme difference when and if Joshua fights Tyson Fury. And what I'll say is, who knows? Given the way things are at the moment, I think you just said it. The biggest fight in boxing right now is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
So who knows? There may be an intervention, even though it's a 2-fight deal between Fury and Usyk. If Fury wins the first fight, there may be a feeling in Saudi Arabia, there may be a feeling from His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh that we really need to make this fight happen. And so maybe Usyk gets a big step aside or something like that. So we do get to that fight, because we've kind of lost Wilder and Joshua, haven't we?
Yeah.
A fight that really for 6 years was mooted. But what I'll add to that, Matt, is how brilliant is it to have Tyson Fury there in the front row seats at the press conference, barking at Ngannou, there and with Paris and Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and George Warren and Frank Smith when Joshua knocks out Ngannou. How great that they were all in the room together at His Excellency's home, and Joshua and Fury didn't speak, and we know that. And Fury's having a go at Ngannou there. All this is the narrative we need around it all. Ali used to go to other people's, Muhammad Ali used to go to other people's gyms and razz them up. And it's part of the salesmanship and promotion of the division. And I'm just really pleased that we are getting that mix at the moment.
Do you think the way Joshua ended that fight and the fact that Tyson was ringside, do you think that's made that fight even bigger, if it is possible?
Absolutely. It has made it bigger. And this kind of Anthony Joshua levels the stakes against Tyson Fury. He's just fought the guy that Tyson Fury almost lost to over 10 rounds, in my view. So it's in your mind, it's fresh in your mind. But in seven rounds in his last 2 fights, Joshua has been the epitome of the destroyer, and he's hitting and not being hit. So it's a great time. If he doesn't have that fight with Fury next, and they insist on the 2 Usyk fights, Dillian Whyte's fighting this weekend in Ireland. It's Sunday, not Saturday. I thought it was Saturday until a little earlier, against Christian Hammer, of course, who Joe Joyce, Tyson Fury, Povetkin, and others, Frank Sanchez and others have all beaten. What's wrong with Dillian Whyte getting in the mix and having that fight with Anthony Joshua this year? Yeah. Obviously, it could upset the apple cart, but in many ways, do we put a fight in the middle for Joshua right now, just in case something goes catastrophically wrong?
That's the question, isn't it? And we're of that opinion of fighters need to stay active, but you almost don't want to throw too many curveballs in case we don't get to see certain fights. But what I would say is
4 fights in 11 months, so he's got great momentum. But I cannot see him wanting to wait till, because if May the 18th is Fury and Usyk, June, July, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's October, November at the earliest, in my view.
Yeah.
But the very earliest you do September. Yeah. And then I suppose you could do it in December again. But
all this basically, in a way, we've seen it before happen where there's rematch clauses and things like that. It's the manner of the performance, maybe again Tyson versus Usyk. So, for instance, let's just say, for example, Tyson goes out there and wins by, say, an early stoppage, and it's a brutal stoppage. It's been a rough fight, and he got Usyk out of there. Would that, obviously, with the rematch clause, because it was such a definitive ending, would you think that would then give more leeway to say, you know what, we've seen?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's logical. It's logical. Yeah, it's logical. And then Usyk is offered maybe the fight against the winner.
Yeah.
But you know, the if we want to see this era play out, logically, it makes sense for, like you say, in that scenario.
Yeah.
If Fury knocks Usyk out and beats him up inside 6 or 7 rounds,
Yeah.
then it doesn't make sense not to have Joshua and Fury next. The biggest fight in boxing in the heavyweight division, in terms of, and also, my feeling is this, Max. People have been asking me, but don't you think that will come back? Couldn't that come back to Wembley then, and that it could still be under the auspices of Saudi Arabian investments? So I said no, because I think the key is, if you then have that at the Kingdom Stadium, if there is the desire for 20,000 Brits to travel, which is what part of the purpose of this is, to show what Saudi Arabia can do and is as a country. And come on, let's be honest here. Our experiences of the country, mine have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
The people, the atmosphere, what people are like around the place. I went to an art biennale in Diriyah on the day of the fight. There's cultural things happening all the time, and there is a friendliness and a warmth from the people there towards us. It's a great place to go and visit, in my view.
Yeah.
And this is the moment, this is the tipping point where maybe they do get 10,000 UK fans traveling to see that fight. So I can't see them saying, "Oh yeah, we'll you do that one at Wembley then," even though you could get 100,000. And the Corinthian spirit might suggest it would be the right thing to do, you know.
Yeah.
But after all this investment, do you agree that this would be the one where they go,
Well,
this will be the one where all the fans travel?
I think they'd want that one there, like you said, because Brits, for you know, like you said, if it fills a Wembley for 100,000 or whatever, how many people then would want to make that journey to Saudi Arabia? That'd be the one where
10,000-15,000.
Yeah, probably. Well, if that happens, let's talk. I want to just sort of slightly move off you Joshua's and Furies. I want to talk about Joseph Parker. Joe Parker, I was half interviewing, half watching, then saw the back end of the fight. The bridge of the nose, which obviously looked like it got broke or whatever happened early on. Survives 2 knockdowns. Kept busy in rounds that were sort of maybe just a bit quiet, where Zhang took his foot off the gas, and he's managed to continue this momentum. I know he's got a rematch with him, but he's another example of a resume, a who's who on his resume, fights anyone, and now he's in a great position as well. What do you make of Joe Parker and Zhilei Zhang?
Well, Zhang went very quiet, almost like he went in doze mode for the last 3-4 rounds. 4 rounds. I scored it a draw in the end, by the way. Was one of the cards 15-10? 115, 110.
I think so. I can't remember the card.
Was that the Nick Ball? No, that was the Nick Ball fight, I think.
That was, yeah.
Which didn't make sense at all, by the way. I quickly on him, I thought well, you'll probably come to that. Yeah, Parker's resilience and momentum is extraordinary. 5 wins, 11 months, and against 2 of the biggest knockout punchers in the sport, the biggest punchers in the sport. Zhang, sly and unseen with that left hand early in the fight, and like you say, hunted down early on Joseph Parker. The fight played out as I expected. I picked Joe to win on points. Zhang dangerous early is how I saw it, and Parker to win on points down the stretch. As I say, even though I scored it a draw, it was a fascinating fight because Joe had to be very resilient. He really was walked down early on. And Zhang commanded the ring brilliantly. As you say, busted his nose in the 3rd, I think.
Yeah.
Had him twice. And it looked like Zhang's fight until the latter 3rd, really. And his battery seemed to just be depleted. I don't think he landed one punch in the 12th round. I do buy the fact, I was sitting with Tommy Lane next to me at the time. I was behind Fury and Paris, Tyson Fury in Paris for that fight. And was sitting next to Tommy Lane. And, I thought it was a close fight. and all Zhang needed to do, in my view, was work hard in those last couple of rounds and win one of those 2 rounds. But he didn't seem to have it in him. But taking nothing away from the kind of desire, it came down to desire from Joseph Parker in the end, because it really did look like he was going to get stopped around 5 or 6.
Yeah.
He was under a lot of pressure, and it just shows now the father of 5, I think he is nearly, son on the way. What a brilliant guy and a resurgent fighter Joseph Parker is.
Also shows you as well, styles make fights. This is a guy who's been in there and he lost to Joe Joyce, but he brushed himself off, came back again. Zhang went in there and knocked Joyce out twice in emphatic fashion. He's gone out there now and beaten a Wilder, beaten Zhang. So it just shows you, doesn't it? Styles make fights and you take your fights and fight everyone.
A beats B, B beats C, C beats A.
Absolutely.
So Nick, if it happened years ago with the great era of heavyweights in the 70s, then that's why styles make fights. That's why Anthony Joshua will probably not have such an easy time against Tyson Fury or Usyk in the 3rd fight as he will against a pure puncher.
Yeah. Touch on Nick Ball, just a little bit there. I spoke to him after the fight. Him and his trainer, not happy with the referee's performance, the breaking up of the holding, obviously the scorecards. What did you make of it? Obviously, sat there ringside watching it. What did you think? Is he hard done by?
I've called it a fight of 2 heights and 2 halves, which it really was. 5'3" versus 6 foot. First half of the fight won, in my view, weirdly. First 6 rounds I gave to Ray Vargas, and the last 6 rounds to Nick Ball with 2 knockdowns. So I had him winning the fight by 2 points. I had him winning 114, 112. I think he can feel hard done by. I think he smothered his work a little bit. I know he's got to get in close, but I think in a second fight, if they have it, he will probably just have that half step back, because Vargas didn't seem to be able to hurt him. Again, he fatigued the older guy. He was over him like a horrible rash all night, relentless hunting. He can be well proud of an amazing performance. Thoroughly deserves to be world champion, and I think he will be anyway one day. But I'd like to see the rematch, and maybe they get that fight on that June 1st card out there. I didn't buy Vargas's comments that Nick Ball was the home fighter, though, because it was happening in Riyadh. But so the crowds, look, I mean, it was a kind of weird, scrappy fight in some ways, but given the height differential, it was always going to feel a bit like that, because Vargas was able to reach long and land at will with those scything punches to the body that, frankly, never put a dent in Nick either. But no, I thought he did. I thought he did brilliantly and proved that he's world level.
Last one from me. I just want to touch on this fight that obviously it came about, or it got brought up as if it was agreed. Crawford and Eubank Jr. That got brought up. Obviously, we know Ben Pacquiao, the incident, they met on stage, etc. But Crawford, Chris Eubank.
That's not signed either.
No, it's not done. But I'm saying these were the sort of the rumblings that were coming out, and obviously, opinion on Crawford, Eubank Jr. The Battle of Bomac, basically.
The Battle of Bomac, yeah, brilliant.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, is it over here or is it over there?
Well, there's not been an official announcement. It was just more from. There was a couple of news outlets, I believe. IFL TV broke it. I'm not sure. I think that came from their source. I think that came from the horse's mouth, and then it sort of rumbled on from there. But it's an interesting one. It's one I didn't see coming, if I'm honest. But what do you make of it as a spectacle and everything else? It's going to be interesting.
I like it. I see Crawford as the favourite. Hagler, Ray Leonard. In terms of weight differential. It depends what weight they make it at. I mean, I wanted to see Crawford and Canelo fight, but I want to see Canelo after the Munguia fight. on May the 4th fight the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. That's what I'd like to see. But I particularly want to see Canelo fight Beterbiev. I just think it's an amazing fight.
Canelo Beterbiev.
Yeah.
What about we still need to see Canelo Benavidez, don't we, as well?
Yeah, and Canelo Benavidez. I mean, I'm just in fantasy fight realm at the moment because we're getting all the fights we really want. Crawford and Eubank, it feels like a little bit of a curveball, but it's whether can Eubank get back down to 160. His dad doesn't like him fighting at 160. If you recall those interviews recently, a couple of weeks back, he says his son is walking around 187 pounds. I think he was saying he doesn't want him to lose 27 pounds, but. I'd love to see Crawford fight here. He's fought here before, of course, against Ricky Burns 10 years ago at lightweight, I think it was at the time. Up in Scotland. We didn't know what Terence was at the time. If it comes off, great. If it's in America, we go travel, baby. Simple as that. If it's in Riyadh, it's in Riyadh.
100%. Well, that's all it from me for this week.
Well, that's all it for me then.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there anything else you want to add, Gareth? Things that are coming up you're looking forward to?
Well, I just think we're in a great period. I think very important weekend for Joe Joyce and Dillian White. To look impressive. You can't completely write Cash Ali off, but against Joe Joyce because you have to expect the unexpected in heavyweight boxing. But Joe will want to be emphatic, as will put in an emphatic. Maybe even dramatic performance. Same Dillian White, because those two men will want to get in the Super League of Heavyweights.
Yeah.
That is going on in the Middle East at the moment. So it's a big night for both of them. It's a big night for Dillian now he's back as well.
100%. You've got as well one that's sort of going under the radar a bit, but with huge implications. William Zepeda and Maxi Hughes. Maxi, opportunity, final eliminator. Zepeda comes with a big reputation, an outstanding record on paper, but obviously in terms of the fight, I think he's beaten a Jojo Diaz, who's got him on his record, but huge implications as well. The winner will fight the winner of, I think, Lomachenko and Kambosos.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Maxi is a stylist and a very clever fighter, and he's not necessarily a knockout artist, but I think Zepeda's 29 fights undefeated, 26 knockouts, and again, very dangerous southpaw. And like you say, he's kind of rising up the ladder. Maxi Hughes will make it difficult for him, I'm sure. Maxi's a great character. I'm really looking forward to that. But, he's got his work cut out against Zepeda, in my view.
100%. Well, look, Gareth, always a pleasure catching up. I will
keep the quiff going. What's your? How do you style the quiff?
I'm not. I'm getting it cut after this interview. It's a bloody night. It's a night.
I'll have you know that I had a haircut ready for the interviews today anyway. So
you're on screen though. I'm not, so I can get away with it.
Okay, fine. Well, no, I like it. I'd keep the quiff. I wouldn't get rid of it.
No, it just needs trim. Right, Gareth. Thanks for giving.
I'll catch up with you next week. Yeah.
You will. I'll see you soon. See you, Gareth.